Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha. श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः श्री मेधा दक्षिणामूर्ति स्वामिने नमः। ओम सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम। Namaste once again, all of you.
Namaskaram, Guruji.
So, after seeing the topic of Aikyam, Jiveshwara Aikyam, the oneness of Jiva and Ishwara in a very elaborate manner, towards the end of the last class, we entered the topic of, which is the last topic of Tattva Bodha, the topic of Aikya Jnana Phalam. What is the benefit of this knowledge? All right, very good. We know now that Jiva and Ishvara is one. Jivatma, Paramatma is one. All that is okay. Now, what is the benefit of this knowledge? Because that was the whole purpose of starting to understand what this Tattva Bodha is all about. So here the author now enters that topic of what is the benefit, what is the phalam, result of this knowledge. And he used a very nice word called Jivan Muktaha. So, evam cha Vedanta Vakyaihi Sadguru Upadeshena cha Sarveshu api Bhuteshu Yesham Brahma Buddhi Rutpanna Te Jivan Muktaha Ityartaha. So, this we saw this sentence and I was explaining what this Jivan Mukta means. Basically, Mukta, as I said, means liberated. And Jivan means while living. So while living itself, this person is liberated. In whose mind this Brahma Jnanam has arisen, who has understood this fundamental secret of this entire universe, that the foundation, the adhishthanam of this whole universe is only consciousness, and I am that consciousness. Who has understood that, he is termed a Jivan Mukta. So what does this Jivan Mukta mean was what we were saying. And especially we were trying to understand the answer to the question, liberation from what? And I started introducing by saying that liberation from our sense of insecurity, liberation from the sense of fear that we constantly entertain. Gave few examples also in the last class. Okay. Even though at present I am the original consciousness occupying this body for a temporary period, manifesting in this body, which is a reflecting medium, which is a distorted reflecting medium, which we all saw. The one who understands that after a few years, this reflecting medium will perish, because the nature of the reflecting medium is such that it will perish. And along with that, that reflected, distorted reflection also will perish. Both the reflected medium and the reflection, both will be gone in a few years' time. But this Jivan Mukta understand that even though these two are perishing, they will perish. I, the consciousness, will remain. I will not perish. For I am eternal. I have nothing called death. I am Amrita, Amritosmi. The one who has understood this reality, this absolute reality, will not have any fear of losing the body or losing the reflection or anything, because he knows very well that these things are temporary, they will come and go. But my nature is permanent. Isn't it? Because insecurity, one of the worst insecurity is the insecurity of death. We do so many things in order to postpone, even though everybody in their mind understands about that death is inevitable. But when the time comes, we don't want to face it. We are afraid. Especially we can see this in old people. Some fear they have. Unknown. What is death is unknown. And they do everything in order to postpone that inevitable event. So the biggest fear that all of us have is the fear of death. Death of what? Death of this body sense mind complex only. Which we all understand. If we understand it is temporary, that fear will go away to a large extent. That is why in olden days, during the period of my father and all that, things of course have changed now. People used to prefer government jobs. And you know what they used to say? Government jobs are secure. Once you enter a government office as an employee, till your retirement, nobody can touch you. So people used to go for government jobs to look for security in an otherwise insecure environment of job, where if you join a private sector job, your job continuation will be at the whims and fancies of your bosses. Any day they can call you and tell you, from tomorrow, please don't come. And you already have a family, 2 children or 3 children, whatever it is and all that, and you don't know what you are going to do for your next month's expenditure. Government job is secure. So all of us are looking for some sort of a security in everything that we do. If you ponder over this, think about it, this is the reality of our existential life. Constantly looking for security. Why? Because we always feel insecure. And insecure from which point of view? From the point of view of the body, mind, sense complex. Even though we know very well that this body, mind, sense complex is the perishable thing. It's just like, we buy fruits. And then we try our best. We know that if the fruit is kept outside for 2 days, 3 days and all that, it will rot and perish. We try our best to protect it by keeping it in the fridge and things like that and all. But still, it may be prolonged, but this fruit will still perish even if it is there in the fridge. That is the nature of that fruit. The nature of this body-mind complex, it will perish. So what is the point in being insecure about it? Whether the death comes today, it comes after 10 years, it comes after 50 years, it is going to come. At least till the time I am alive, let me be a liberated person. Let me actually, my thoughts be liberated from all this insecurity. And I gave you the example of the sleep also, deep sleep state rather. So all this insecurity which we face, what it gives rise to, it gives rise to all sorts of our emotional problems. Starting from kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, all these problems that we face, all these enemies, shatrus, which we have within ourselves, which gives us constant worries, constant sorrow, constant misery. We feel that when we are angry at somebody, we are punishing that person. Seldom we realize that actually we are punishing ourselves. So like that, every of these emotions, each one of these emotions are not at all, good for even for this body, mind, sense complex. Even that basic understanding many of us do not have. So all these emotional problems come because of this feeling of insecurity. We struggle to earn money. We cling to that money because we are afraid that if the money goes away, what will happen? I will starve, my family will starve. We cling to that money. So earning money itself brings an insecurity in us to protect that money. So we do everything to protect that money. And because otherwise we are insecure, we sometimes feel that money can give us protection. But to some extent, money can actually help us in our sustenance. But that money can give us protection is a fallacy. In fact, more money, the more worried we become. We keep it as cash in our house, we are worried about theft, burglars coming. We keep it we make investments in stock markets here, there, and all that. We are worried that the stock market will crash and my value of my investments will crash. So even when we have money, we earn money for becoming secure, but that very money brings insecurity to us. So all these types of insecurities from whatever security that we look for in our life, if you understand this concept properly, carefully, you will find that everything that we seek security are by themselves insecure. What itself is insecure, how can that provide security to us? Those objects or whatever we call it, they themselves are not secure. How can they provide security to us? But our mistaken belief, misconception is that these things can give us security. And all these types of insecurities, and you can go on imagining what types of insecurities we have and what type of securities from insecure objects that we seek. All these insecurities put together is called in one word samsara. And that is why I told in one of the earlier classes, Pujya Swamiji says samsara means a life of becoming. You are something today and you are insecure in that particular being. So you want to become something else, thinking that you will be more secure in that becoming something else. Like that, from one entity, you keep on becoming another entity, another entity, another entity, and this goes on throughout our life, this life of becoming. All this is known as samsara. So the liberation that we are talking about, the liberation of a Jivan Mukta is liberation from this samsara, the total insecurity. That is the liberation we are talking about. And the beauty is, as I said, nobody wants to die. You know the reason? Reason is, it is against our nature to die. We are by nature immortal. But what is happening is, we have confused that our nature with the nature of this body-mind complex. And that is why instinctively we don't want to die. Means we don't want to lose this body-mind sense complex. And this is because of our confusion in our mind. Intellectual confusion. We are always seeking our natural levels. It is our nature to be eternally alive. So we keep on seeking, how can I be eternally alive? I know subconsciously that I am Satchidananda Swarupa. But that knowledge vanishes when it passes through all the filters of intellect, mind, and all that. And we land up in the mistaken identity that I am this body-mind complex. So the survival instinct is instinctive rather. That's why it's called instinct, survival instinct. The moment we understand that by the destruction or the death of the reflecting medium, that's our body, mind, sense complex, even by the going away of the reflected consciousness, if we understand that I am the original consciousness is always going to be there, this is all will come and go. Even if I have another birth, that will also be a reflected medium and a reflected consciousness. But my Swarupa as original consciousness cannot be touched by any Yamaraja or any mortality rather. Then I will be relieved of this entire insecurity that I have, and then I will be fully liberated. That is what liberation we are talking about. So when we gain this jnanam, this knowledge of the self, being Satchidananda Swarupa, of the nature of pure existence, pure consciousness, and limitlessness, nothing can limit us, nothing can, make us insecure. And that is the result. Jivan Muktihi is the result of this jnanam. And this jnanam can be gained in this life itself while living. It is not that one needs to die to get mukti. That version is there in our Purana scriptures, which is good enough to tell, children or people with child's intellect. They don't want to go beyond that to understand the reality of this. So they are happy with that. For them, it's fine. After death, you will go to this Vaikunta, Kailasa, that is moksha and all that. It's all told. That's fine. For them, it's 80-90% of the population that works, and that let them. At least the purpose of saying that is that if you want to go to Kailasa or Vaikunta and attain moksha, you need to do certain good deeds in this life. You need to lead a sattvic life. All those things are told to them. So by that, at least in the greed, or I wouldn't call it greed, in the desire of getting moksha after death, at least they will be able to live the current life in a nice manner, in a noble manner. Because they are told, if you do all these hanky-panky things and all, you will not get moksha. Of course, these days people say, I don't want moksha also, doesn't matter. That's a different issue. People have come far away from that. If I have to do all these things, there's no need for moksha. Let me do what I feel like doing. So otherwise, people who are religiously inclined, spiritually inclined, but are not in a position to raise their intellectual level up to either a knowledge contained in the Bhagavad Gita or the knowledge contained in the Upanishads. and they are stuck at the Bhagavata Purana and other Puranas. For them also, this is perfectly okay at their level. But for a Jivan Mukta, he has understood the ultimate secret, the ultimate reality of this whole world. And once you understand that, there won't be any fear of death. And the person who gains this Jivan Mukti is called a Jivan Mukta. That's all. So now this author has used this word Jivan Mukta. The students' ears are standing. Hey, what is this Jivan Mukta? I need to know more about this. Because if you have observed, every time the author puts in a new word, a new terminology, student immediately wants to know more detail about that. What is that you are referring to? That is how beautifully this whole text has been developed. And we as students are also curious, what is this Jivan? What is there more to understand about this Jivan Mukta? So the student asks this question. Nanu means, please, 1 minute, sir. Jivan Mukta hai kaha? What is this Jivan Mukta hai? Or who is this Jivan Mukta hai? Right? Or yes, you say, a liberated person. Teacher is happy. The student is with me. He is in the class attending, attentive. He has heard this word Jivan Mukta hai, which came at the end of the last sentence spoken by the teacher. So now the teacher very enthusiastically gives the student a full definition of what we mean by Jivan Mukta hai. And that is said here, Yatha Dehoham, Purushoham, Brahmanoham, Kshatriyoham, Shudroham aham, Asmi iti, Drida Nischayatha, Naham Brahmanah, Na Shudraha, Na Purushaha, Kintu Asangaha, Sachidananda Swarupaha, Prakasha Rupaha, Sarvantaryami, Chidakasha Rupam Asmi iti, Drida Nischaya Rupaha, Aparoksha Jnanavan Jivan Mukta. So who is a Jivan Mukta? He is defining very elaborately. Let us see what does the author wants to say about this liberated person. What kind of liberation, or what does he consider for liberation? In fact, the entire answer can be summed up in three words, which is occurring towards the end. Aparoksha Jnanavan Jivan Mukta. So who is a Jivan Mukta? Aparoksha Jnanavan, the one who has got the Aparoksha Jnanam. So the main knowledge which is gained by a Jivan Mukta is the self-knowledge. And this self-knowledge in the Shastras, in the Vedanta Shastras, is called Aparoksha Jnanam. I will explain what is Aparoksha Jnanam. Knowledge as such can be of three types. One, knowledge always is of an object, right? Whenever we talk of knowledge, we are not talking of a knowledge of another, something outside us, an object. It could be knowledge of the distant galaxies and, the far end of the universe and all that. Knowledge. That's also knowledge. We gain that knowledge from various sources. That knowledge, which is far removed, the objects are far removed from us, is called Paroksha Jnana. In Sanskrit or in the Vedantic language, it's called Paroksha Jnana. Then we gain knowledge of objects which is near us. which we can actually see, we can experience those objects and all that. That is called pratyaksha jnana. So paroksha jnanam of knowledge of distant objects, pratyaksha jnanam knowledge of nearby objects. But what is the knowledge of this self? Is the self far removed from us or very near to us? It is neither. Because I am the self. I cannot be away from myself. Either it is far distance or near distance. I am the self. So I am neither paroksha jnanam, neither pratyaksha jnanam. This knowledge of the self is called aparoksha jnanam. It is not an object. It is not the knowledge of an object. It is the knowledge of the subject, the knower himself. So by the word aparoksha jnanam, what is what is conveyed is this is the knowledge of the self, and there is no distance between the self and the knowledge of the self. We can't even say I am very near myself. It will be a wrong statement. So this knowledge of the self is not the knowledge of any object. It is the knowledge of the very subject, which is the knower. That is what the author wants to say, understand by using this word aparoksha jnanam. So we have seen aparoksha jnanam, pratyaksha jnanam. And that is why we can never ever have a direct experience of ourself. We can have a direct experience only of an external object. We cannot experience ourselves. Can I say, no, I am experiencing myself? It will be a funny statement. Other person who is hearing it will laugh or think that something has gone wrong. Too much of Vedanta has gone into his head. When he is saying, I am experiencing myself. Can anybody say, you can experience others, but how can you experience your own self? So that is how what is called the self-knowledge, knowledge of that self. And the author is saying, this knowledge is of drida nishchaya rupaha. Drida means firm. Nishchaya means conviction. Rupaha means in the form of. For a Jivan Muktaha, this knowledge, this aparoksha jnanam is in the form of a very firm conviction. He has no doubt about it. Let anybody say anything. I am very convinced what my nature is, what myself is. And I have got that knowledge. So, drida nishchaya rupaha. Free from all forms of doubts, of firm conviction. And what is this firm conviction? How do you define the word firm conviction? This conviction is aham Satchidananda Swarupaha. That's what the author is saying. Aham Satchidananda Swarupaha iti drida nishchayaha. I am of the nature of Sat, Chit and Ananda, pure existence, pure consciousness and limitlessness, or you can call it superlative happiness, eternal happiness. We have already discussed this Satchidananda Swarupa in the previous chapter. Okay. So this knowledge is held with the firm conviction that I am of the nature of limitless existence, limitless consciousness, and as I said, superlative happiness. And the nature of this Satchidananda is what? Asangaha, he says. Asangaha means not connected, disconnected with everything. Even though this consciousness pervades the whole body, mind, sense complex, It is not attached to it. Asanga means detached, basically. So we need to remind ourselves that this consciousness pervades everything, including our body-mind complex. When the body perishes, if the consciousness is attached, the consciousness will also perish, isn't it? Anything that is attached to its body will perish along with the body. But since the consciousness is unattached, detached from the body, even though it pervades it, consciousness does not does not perish when the body perishes. It is independent of the body, mind, sense complex. So even at the death of the body, the Atma continues to exist. And this detached or unattached nature is called Asanga Swarupa. Sangha means attachment, Asanga means detachment or unattached. And then the author continues that further, what is the definition of this? What is the content of this knowledge? He says, Aham Antaryami. Antaryami means indweller, present in every body, present in everything in this universe, pervading everything, Antaryami. Just as whenever all these fan, tube light, AC, laptop, everything is on, what is pervading everything? What is the Antaryami? Electricity is the Antaryami for everything. Remove the electricity, switch it off, all these gadgets will become like dead bodies. Isn't it? So that Antaryami means which is inherent, which is indwelling in everything. That is Antaryami. It is like another example, like a thread in a garland. Suppose there is a garland of beads, bead garland. There is a thread which binds all the beads together. This Atma is like that. It binds all the beads together, but the thread is not attached to any of the beads. It is independent of the beads. It makes a beautiful garland, but the thread is not attached to the beads. Atma, we have to understand with this example how it is. The beads are many, but the thread is only one, which passes through the many beads and puts them together. So if we understand that all the jivas that we experience are like beads, and Atma, which is the one which is holding everything together by pervading all the beads which are in the form of the jivas, we will understand fully what this Atma is about. This bead example, garland bead example is a very beautiful example, and Adi Shankara quotes it often. So what are the common features between the Atma and the beads? First of all, both are invisible. In a garland, you can't see the thread which is actually going around the beads. You can only see the beads. Like that in Atma also, you can only see the jivas. You cannot see the Atma, rather, invisible. Second thing is, inside every bead, there is a thread. This thread passes through. Similarly, Atma passes through every jivas, everything that is there. The thread holds the beads together. The Atma holds all jivas together. This entire universe, cosmos, is held together by the consciousness only, pure consciousness only. And the fourth is, even though the thread passes through all the beads, it is unattached to the beads. Similarly, even though the Atma pervades all the jivas, everything in this universe, it is totally unattached. This is the commonality or common features between the garland of beads and Atma. Just an example for us to understand and assimilate this knowledge. In this sentence itself, the Acharya, the teacher, gives two examples, Akasha and Prakasha. These are again two examples often quoted in the Shastras. Again, we can draw parallels between Akasha and Atma and Prakasha and Atma. Akasha means space principle. Prakasha means light principle. So if you look at it, the space pervades everything. Everywhere. There is no place where space is not there. But the space is unattached to anything. If the space gets attached to me, when I move, this space also will move with me, isn't it? And suppose somebody dies, that amount of space also will perish. And then we call it void, isn't it? We will see in some obituary columns and all. The void caused by his death can never be fulfilled or never be filled, like that and all. People, eulogize, they write obituary and all. But that void is not really void of space. Space is still there. The void is the void of the absence of his personality. So space, like Atma, is all pervading, but it is asangaha, unattached. If there is some nice fragrance coming in the space, that fragrance is not the property of the space. The fragrance is coming to you because of the air, which is there in the space. So there are, we can go on comparing space and Atma, and we will find there are many commonalities. And that is why when we talk about the Srishti Prakriya, as we have seen earlier in the chart and all, the first to be born, created, was the space from Brahman and Maya. Closest to Atma, closest to Brahman. So when one is so close, naturally most of the features of that creator will be there in the very first creation. Another, of course, is Prakasha, the light principle. The sunlight pervades this whole earth. It falls on every object, good, bad, everything, but it doesn't get attached to its objects. The smell of the objects is not transferred to the light. So it again remains asangaha, even though it blesses all the objects, and because of that sunlight only, we can carry out all our transactions. During daytime, of course, should not argue at night, there is no sun, we still continue transaction. We have got tube lights like sunlight. Okay. So Atma can be compared to either Akasha or Prakasha because of certain common attributes. Right? Both Akasha and Prakasha are formless. Space has no form, light has no form. Similarly, Atma has no form. Another common feature. You cannot divide space. You cannot divide light. It's one composite whole. Similarly, consciousness or Atma is one composite whole. You cannot divide Atma into my Atma, your Atma, this Atma, that Atma. You cannot divide. It's one composite whole, like space and light. Another common feature. And as I told you, space and light cannot be polluted by anything. Similarly, Atma cannot be polluted by anything. Even though there may be so many impurities in our body, mind, sense complex, including the emotional impurities that I talked about a few moments ago, those impurities cannot touch Atma at all. Those are impurities in the body, mind, sense complex. Atma is pervading the whole thing, but it will not be touched by those impurities. Just like space and light cannot be touched by any impurities on which they fall, or impurities occupying a space will not get attached to the space, will not get attached to that impurity. So this is a third one. Both Atma, space, Prakasha, blemishless, all three, another common feature. Then the fourth common feature, Atma has no boundary, space has no boundary, light has no boundary. All three of them are boundless, eternal. I mean, like they're infinite. The more you keep on going, the space goes on expanding. You don't know which is the end of space. Similarly, light keeps on traveling. Unless it is blocked consciously by something, light travels. That's why, even from distant stars and all that, light keeps traveling right up to our earth. Takes time, of course, but it keeps traveling. Boundless light. Not limited by any object or anything. Okay. It goes beyond every object. And finally, Asangaha, as I explained, even though they are connected with all the objects, Atma is connected with an object, light is connected with an object, space is connected with objects, they are not attached to any of these objects. They are Asangaha, independent, associated but not connected. That we must remember. Okay. So because of all these these commonalities, common features, in the Shastras, light and space are given. Akasha and Prakasha are given as examples for understanding the nature of Atma. Because you cannot otherwise see Atma, experience Atma. How will you explain what this Atma or pure consciousness is? You can only do it with the closest examples. Now, any example in the Shastra will have its own limitations. We must not focus on the limitations of the example. We must see the principle behind that example and understand. Examples are given for understanding, not for proving a point. So we have to understand that just like the space and the Prakasha is there, all those common features are there with Atma. This is what is Atma. If at all you want to know what is Atma, which is your own self, this is Atma. Okay. And so what are the features? Nirvikara hai, formless. Nirvikalpa hai, divisionless. Nirmala hai, blemishless. Nissima hai, limitless. And finally, Nissangaha, unattached. All these are common features between all these three, Atma, space, and light. So you can understand Atma with these kind of features. These are the features of Atma. And a Jnani is one who has assimilated this true nature of this Atma. He has gained this knowledge. My actual real nature is this. I am nirvikalpa hai, nirvikara hai, then nirmala hai, nissima hai, and asanga hai, nissanga hai. This Jnani has understood about his own self, and that is what is self-knowledge. That is what is Tattva Bodha is all about. So he knows that I am not the body, but he also knows that I am temporarily occupying this body. I am the occupant of this body. I am not this body at all. That he knows. Okay. So that is why the author says, now we come to the first sentence, Naham Brahmana hai. If we understand that we are not this body, mind, sense complex, we cannot say that I am a Brahmana, I am a Kshatriya, I am a Shudra, I am a man, I am a woman. I am basically formless. How can I attribute a form of this body, mind, sense complex to a formless me? But what is happening? That I am a Brahmana, I am a Shudra, I am this, I am that. All these divisions that we have made, man-made divisions, are all divisions which are based upon the body, mind, sense complex. And as we have seen, Atma does not have any such divisions. So, like saying, I am Brahmana, I am Shudra, etc. We are very much convinced about it. Isn't it? Can I doubt that I am a man? Can I doubt that the female students in the class are females? I have a firm conviction that I am a man, I am born in this particular caste, this is my height, this is my weight, I am this, I am that, you are this, you are that. All this, today we have a very firm conviction about it. So the firm conviction the Jnani has got about his own self, the author says, is similar to the firm conviction that an Ajnani has got about what he believes today. I am firmly convinced that my name is Ganapathy. That's why anybody shouts Ganapathy, I will answer that person. What is Ganapathy? Attached this Ganapathy is a name given to this form. Atma can never have a name. Only name for Atma is you can choose Atma, Brahman, then you can choose Sakshi. All those names you can choose, but you cannot visualize any of those things. So that is what the author is emphasizing. I am Purusha, I am Stri, I am Brahmana, etc., etc. Like we have the firm conviction now, without that knowledge, a Jnani has a firm conviction about his real nature because of the knowledge. And that is the type of firm conviction we have to understand one needs to have to become a Jivan Mukta. So that's why he says Yatha. Yatha means just as. Just as an ignorant person, Deha aham, I am the body. Purusha aham, I am a male. Brahmana aham, I am a Brahmin. Shudra aham, I am a Shudra. Iti drida nischaya, such a strong but a wrong conviction, misconception of an Ajnani, but still it is so strong. Similarly, aham Sachidananda Swarupaha, aham Prakasha Swarupaha, Prakasha Rupaha, Sarvantaryami, Chidakasha Swarupaha, I am of the nature of the reflected consciousness. Chidakasha, sorry, not Chidabhasa, Chidakasha Swarupaha, Asmi iti. So this Jnani has got this firm conviction that all my true nature is the nature of this Akasha, Prakasha, Sachidananda Swarupa, Asanga, all those things which we saw. Sarva Antaryami, I pervade everything, I am an indweller of everything. So that is the firm conviction that the Jnani has. And by using this word Drida Nischaya, firm conviction, what the author wants to convey is that for a Jnani, this knowledge is a spontaneous knowledge. It is not that he needs to remind himself every time, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. He doesn't need to. Just like all the other features we have become so convinced that spontaneously we respond to those identities. The knowledge that my name is Ganapathy is so ingrained in me that somebody calls me Ganapathy, I will respond. Somebody calls me, hey Brahma, hey Brahman, I will not respond. Somebody is calling somebody called Brahman. Even though I have studied Aham Brahmasmi, but I will not respond. So what he wants to say is, for a Jnani, the Dhrida Nishchaya means spontaneously. He cannot think of any other identity for himself other than Sachidananda Swarupa. That is the nature of conviction the Jnani has. Even though he is living along with all the other ignorant people, he is asanga. He has no attachment. If at all he, feels attached, he understands that this attachment is based upon body, mind, sense complex, not me. Where I am detached from my body, mind, sense complex also. So this is what is the Dhrida Nishchaya. And Jnani does not have any obsession about his own body. In fact, we are all so obsessed with our bodies. We keep on doing so many things. A Jnani does not have any obsession. Because he knows that it's a temporary medium. Today or tomorrow it is going to perish. Maximum, a Jnani may pay attention to his body will be for a reason that he is amidst people who revere him, who respect him, and if he does not cooperate in the maintenance of his body, those people will be put to lot of sorrow and misery and all trouble and all that. For that purpose, even though he understands very well that I am not this body-mind complex, I am indifferent to my body-mind sense complex, he will actually follow certain disciplines and all that to maintain this body-mind complex, his temporary residence, his rented house in a proper shape. Otherwise, he is not bothered. In the heavy rains or earthquake, this body is perished, the Jnani is not bothered. Okay. So all these things are put together is what is called Jnana, and it is leads to mukti. And the person, a Jnani who has got this firm knowledge, is called the Jivan Mukta. This is the full explanation the author gave. And right in the beginning, we equated this moksha, which is what is mukti is about, moksha, to fivefold benefits. If you all recall, it's about 34 classes or 33 classes, something. So even if you don't recall, I will understand. But it will be useful at this stage to just briefly recall those things. What are the benefits of this knowledge? The first one we saw was what? Jigyasa nivrittihi. Jigyasa nivritti means the natural curiosity which is there in all of us. Who am I? Where have I come from? Where will I go from here? What will happen after my death? Is there a life after death? Will I take another body? Will that body be a human body? So many hundreds of questions we have about life, creation and all that. When you get this Atma Jnanam, when you have studied this much, with the Tattva Bodha, if you remember, is only a small text. It's a preliminary grantha. It has just been the whole Vedanta knowledge has been provided in a nutshell. You can imagine when you go into Upanishads and all, how this is going to expand, this entire knowledge and this teaching. Bhagavad Gita, when you enter Bhagavad Gita, how this whole, this thing is going to sprout and grow into a big tree. This small seed of Tattva Bodha. But the seed contains all the knowledge. That's the beauty of Tattva Bodha. So all these questions that we have, we get answers by this knowledge of the self, and that is our curiosity is satiated. We find answers to all our such questions, and our intellect is satisfied. Because intellect is where the curiosity arises. And as long as the curiosity continues, I can tell you the intellect will not allow you to sleep. Simple examples you can quote. You see some person on the road, and that person's face is very familiar to you. Your intellect tells you that you know that person. You have seen him earlier in some context and all that, you know, but you are not able to place. You come home, have your dinner and lie down to sleep. You know what will your intellect do? It will search your entire computer storage to locate that record of that person, when, where you have actually met that person. It will not allow you to sleep. This is the power of curiosity. As they say, curiosity killed a cat. I don't know the background of how a cat got killed. Curiosity. But this curiosity will not allow us to sleep, allow us to live. In fact, we will break our head. Where have we seen that guy? Where have we seen that guy? So the jigyasa nivritti takes place. This intellect is satisfied. All those questions which are relevant for me, which are relevant for my happiness, I have understood all them with answer. So this is jigyasa nivritti. And following that is what we saw, vidyananda praptihi. The joy that we get by the knowledge that we gain, isn't it? Even while solving a small crossword puzzle, just imagine that there is a very complex, cryptic, clue given, and you are able to decode that cryptic clue and find the word to fill in that, 5 letters or 6 letters, whatever number of letters in that particular column or row. See the joy that you will enjoy. The same joy which Archimedes got when he discovered this, the principle of displacement of water. I don't know what is that, specific gravity. Yeah, Sitaraman, am I right? Archimedes, specific gravity. Yeah. Somehow
it is buoyance, right? Like buoyance of water, buoyance, buoyance.
Boyle's law. I don't know. Yeah, probably. Somehow it is said that he actually he went into a tub and then he found that mass is displaced by the amount of water. Then he ran up in the streets, shouting "Eureka, Eureka, Eureka!"
It's a buoyancy. Yes.
It's basically the displacement of water and the related.
Yeah. So that's the joy when you get the knowledge. And when you get this knowledge of yourself, jigyasa nivrittihi followed by vidyananda praptihi, you are totally overjoyed. And that joy is not a temporary joy like a crossword joy or a eureka joy. It's a permanent joy because the knowledge is going to remain with you permanently. Knowledge cannot be taken away by anybody. Yes, as I think initially I did quote, na chora haryam na bhratar bhajyam. A thief cannot steal that knowledge. Your relatives cannot ask you to divide that knowledge and give it to them. The king cannot tax the knowledge. Once you have got the knowledge permanently stays with you, and that knowledge brings you ananda, and that ananda also will permanently stay with you. We'll continue in the next class. Let us close on this, nice note of ananda and happiness. And next class we will continue. Okay, I'll say the prayers and then if there are questions we can take. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much, Guruji.
Thank you. Namaskaram.
Thank you, Guruji.
Guruji, it was a beautiful session.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Any questions, any clarifications, any doubts?
Still sinking in.
Yeah?
Doubts will come later. Still
Doubts will
sinking.
come later. Okay, no problem. Whenever it comes, you can raise it.
Hariji has a doubt.
Hariji has a doubt? Yes, Hariji.
Hari Om.
Hari
Can
Om.
we ask doubt only related to this class or in general? Can we ask?
You see, if it is related to this class, it will be useful for everybody. If it is a doubt which is not related to the class, you can ask me through a message in my WhatsApp, and if I am able to answer, because I don't claim all.
That I am sure you will be able to answer.
So, okay, you go ahead. Let us see whether this doubt is useful
It
for
is
all.
totally unrelated. So I will send you.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Still, you say. Now you are increased my curiosity now. Now I will lose sleep if you don't ask them. What is it?
This is regarding Punarjanma, rebirth.
Yeah, that is related to this only.
Okay, in that way, anything connected with Vedanta is related to.
Yes, yes, very much related.
When we die, the gross body perishes, and what all will go to the next body? Is it our both the subtle body, that is mind and intellect, along with how is the intellect will be going to the next body? Our existing mind.
I'll explain it. Today we have got.
Did I make my point?
Yeah. I think I got you. I will answer the question. Let me know whether I have answered you fully.
Yeah.
We have seen that we consist of 4 entities.
Yeah.
One is the gross body, which is Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira, and the reflected consciousness.
Okay.
And this reflected consciousness gets reflected in all the 3 Shariras also.
Yeah.
So when we die, what happens is the physical body, the Stula Sharira finishes.
Yeah.
But the Sukshma Sharira, the Karana Sharira, and the reflected consciousness continue. They go out of this physical body.
Okay.
Their rental period is over.
Yeah. So
then they will go and search for another body.
Yeah.
That another body they will get depending upon the karma of this jiva.
Okay.
That karma is all stored in the Karana Sharira.
Yeah.
So the Karana Sharira's storage or content is the cause for the next body.
Yes.
Out of that, the next body will come, and all these Sukshma Sharira, reflected consciousness, and this Karana Sharira will go and enter that body, another rented house, and function in that body. Now that body could be a human body, an animal body, a mosquito body, a plant body, any body, any living being.
Which will be suitable to exhaust the prarabdha vasana.
Which will be suitable to exhaust the prarabdha karmas which are maturing for the next birth.
In other words, the subtle body continues its travel.
Subtle body continues to travel till pralaya.
Yeah, okay. Till the
Pralayam,
merge with the self, or till we exhaust the vasanas and no rebirth.
No, that is why once you get the jnanam, in fact, that is the next topic, and I will deal with that topic in a very elaborate manner, law of karma.
Okay.
Which will be following after I finish this.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next class itself, I will start the law of karma. Okay.
Okay.
There I will explain this entire process.
Okay.
Because everything is driven by karma.
Okay.
And punya papas.
Okay.
And what happens to all this, and what circumstances all these karmas and this Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam will come to an end. What is that process? All that I will be explaining in the when we take up the topic of law of karma, which actually is the last topic. I mean, the author also touches upon that, and then he completes the text rather. So we will be following that, and we will see what the law of karma says. What are all the corollaries of the law of karma? What is the takeaway for us from understanding the law of karma? All these things we will see in the next topic.
Okay. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Yes, Sulekha ji.
My question, thank you, Guruji. My question is regarding samskaris. And I don't want to say versus yani or a yan, having the knowledge and gaining this knowledge as a jnani. Do they continue to be a samskari? Do they continue their roles and responsibilities, continue to be involved in acquisition or preservation, or are those things released from them as a yani? I'm not sure if I'm clear.
Yeah, I got your question. See, a jnani may continue. The choice is of the jnani, what he wants to do. Once I have understood that I am totally unattached to all these things, and whatever actions that are being done by body, mind, sense complex are actions which are driven by their nature, by the nature of this body, mind, sense complex. But I have nothing to do. A jnani can choose to do things, or he can choose not to do things. If a jnani chooses to do things, he will be choosing it only for the purposes of the public good, good of the humanity. Not only humanity, good of every living being in this cosmos. He will choose to do those activities. And even while doing those activities, he will not become a samsari. He will be unattached in doing those activities. With the sense of detachment, he can do anything. He can be teaching, he can be, setting up, like Adi Shankara set up so many mathas all over India. He was a jnani. So, but then he did it for what? For the public good, for the future generations to benefit out of this knowledge. But when whatever a jnani does, he will never ever, even for a moment, forget the fact that Aham Sachidananda Swarupa. Aham Nissangaha. So he will not forget that. He will keep that in mind, and then whatever either the society demands, because to get a jnani is not an easy thing. Very rare commodity. Very, very rare, because you just imagine, how many people come to Vedanta. How many people are able to actually pursue Vedanta to its logical end and get this knowledge, doubtless knowledge? How many people are able to assimilate that knowledge? How many people are able to disidentify themselves from this body, mind, sense complex and identify themselves with a formless, identity? Very rare. 1 in a billion or 1 in a million, such jnanis come. That is why jnanis are sought after by people. Whether it is Ramana Maharishi, whether it is, you talk of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, or even our own gurus like Swami Chinmayananda, Swami Vivekananda, Swami Puja Swami Dayananda Saraswati. All these jnanis are sought after by people. Seeing them, we come to know that we can also become such jnanis. Right? All this rebirth business and all is all just carrots. The real thing is I can be happy throughout my life. This life, whether I get a rebirth or not, I am not concerned. Why? Because I have disidentified. Any rebirth is there for this body, mind, sense complex. As a jnani, my entire existence today is a mithya. It is a myth. I don't exist at all in this form. It is an appearance by Maya that has been given. So all this he understands. So a Jnani can continue to do everything for the world with this attitude of detachment. That's why Vairagyam is very, very important. We saw that, even for this knowledge, that sadhana chatushtaya sampatti starts with viveka and vairagya, discrimination and detachment. So a jnani will, but there are other jnanis. Once they've got the jnanam, they will go to some Rishikesh or Himalayas and all that, and they will be there. Because for them, all these happiness which comes, the temporary happiness which comes from the objects, they have found that that's not I'm looking for. I have got what I wanted. So I have nothing more to do with this world. Let me go and spend my, rest of the time that this body has to survive in total, along with nature, as near to the nature as possible. And because of that, if you actually go to Uttarkashi and even beyond, Brahmakund and all that, you will find people in freezing water, they will be dipping and taking bath. You will not even dare to touch that water, but you can see them, taking dip in that water. Why? They have reached that stage where they have totally disidentified themselves with this body-mind complex. We are afraid of cold and all this because if I get cold, I will get pneumonia, this, that, blah, blah. They are not bothered about that at all. Okay, if I die, fine. Today I die. Doesn't matter. They have detached themselves. But I need to keep this body clean. So I will take a bath, whether it's cold water or whatever. So these two types of jnanis are there. Jnanis who are very well within the world, who are very active for the sake of promotion of the shastras and all these things, and jnanis who detach themselves, go away rather. In fact, you will find more number of the second type of jnanis than the first type. And that is why for us, catching hold of such jnanis is a very, very, precious thing rather. Whenever we get an opportunity, that's why satsangas with jnanis are such a great, thing. You get so many things, ideas, knowledge, and they will talk from their own personal experience. So that is how the jnanis, we can understand the jnanis. We must never judge a jnani. In fact, when we talk about the law of karma, we will go into detail how this law of karma applies to jnanis and how they apply to ajnanis also. Both is fully detailed. In fact, Swami Paramarthanandaji, he has given such a wonderful talk that all my learning is from his talks only for this Tattva Bodha. In fact, I am so overwhelmed by this knowledge which is given in such a small, text, that I am always happy to share this knowledge with all the people who are interested, who have got the time and inclination for this. And very profound, explanation he gives. So all that I am doing is sharing whatever I have learned from him, maybe in my own words, but many times I use the words used by him because very convenient, very appropriate also. So if at all we have to, see who is a current jnani, Swami Paramarthananda is a jnani. So we need to, get the benefit of his knowledge for all our spiritual pursuit. So that's yes, Hariji. First, I'll give chance to Sita Raman. Then I'll come to Hariji. Okay. Yes, Sita Raman.
I have a question in addition to what Surekaji says and your explanation. Jnani is one type of jnani who has quit this world and is in the sannyasa and is in ashram or wherever he is. The other is like Swami Paramarthananda or Swami Chinmayananda or Adi Shankara, who went about spreading. Now, I think what Surekaji means, if I have understood it correctly, I'm at home, I'm in a samsara. But
okay,
living in samsara, I want to be a jnani. Now, what is I'm sure there should be some way You are in, but you are out. That is what is the point.
What is samsara?
Guruji, I can.
Samsara is, sorry, yes, Hariji, you can ask questions. If it is
King
related,
Janaka
then I will answer both together.
Yeah, King Janaka is a classic example which we always quote in
Yes, yes.
all our
Janaka
scriptures.
example is there even in the Upanishads, rather. So,
All the rishis, they had the families.
yes, yes.
Yeah, so they have not run away from the King
No,
Janaka.
it is not a question of running away. I will explain it to you what it is.
Yeah.
Whenever we talk of samsara, I just now told what is samsara. Samsara is that entire emotional baggage that we carry with us. It has nothing to do with our physical presence in any particular place or in the midst of a certain number of people and all. Samsara is the emotional baggage.
Yeah.
Because of the wrong identification of our real self with this body, mind, sense complex, we carry a huge emotional baggage, which is the cause for all our miseries and sorrows. What this knowledge does by detaching ourselves, by telling us that you are not this body, mind complex, we learn to disidentify ourselves with this body, mind complex, irrespective of whether we are at home, we are in an ashram, or we are in a jungle.
Yeah.
So whenever we talk of samsara, we must understand that we are not talking about a physical presence, immaterial of wherever you are, irrespective of wherever you are. If you are freed of all your emotional hang-ups or hangovers, you are a jnani. You have got the knowledge. That's all. But whether we are able to do that under all circumstances, whenever there is a very severe provocation, are we able to respond to that? Refuse to get provoked. Keep all your emotions under check. If you can do that, you are a jnani. And that is what is the most difficult part for all of us. And as Hariji said, King Janaka was a jnani.
Or Lord Krishna, he was.
Lord Krishna was a jnani. He was a king. He was ruling over the entire this thing. So many examples we will find. In fact, Yajnavalkya had 2 wives. And he was a jnani. He had full, samsara does not mean the Tamil samsaram. We have got, unfortunately, lot of vocabulary which we get mixed up. Samsara does not mean physical world. For an individual, a samsara is the emotional baggage that we carry. All that self-knowledge gives you is, helps you to get rid of that emotional baggage. Now, people who are observing you when you are in the family may think that you have actually become a jadam. You have no emotions. That is taken as a very negative thing, that you have no emotions. You are expected to emote, cry. Somebody dies, you are supposed to cry. A jnani will know that this is what has gone is only a body. The fellow is still there. I know that he is there, and I am a part. There is no difference between that person who has died and me, because both we are of the same nature, Satchidananda Swarupa. And these people are crying. Inside he may be laughing, but for the sake of the world, for the sake of his family, he may cry also. All that the jnani will do, acting, knowing fully well that I am doing acting. He may be forced to do these things. He may be forced to feel as if he has lost somebody and all, knowing fully well. In fact, I don't know how many of you heard Swami Paramarthananda's message after Swami Omkarananda took Mahasamadhi.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful message. There is no remorse, right? And he emphasized this point that we just take, because all that has happened is the law of karma has delivered its result. So far as the body, mind, sense complex of Swami Omkarananda is concerned, Omkarananda as the Atma consciousness is going to be there every time, eternally rather. So very carefully he explained, very beautiful message Swami Paramarthananda gave on that, Mahasamadhi of Swami Omkarananda. That is what a jnani is. So what I'm saying is we must understand what is this samsara, what is this jnanam, and it does not prevent us from doing anything that we are doing today. Only thing is our perspective, our attitude, our expectation from what we are doing will totally change. But we can continue to do whatever we are doing. That's why Swami Paramatmananda insists, jnanam does not mean you have to go to some ashram and things like that. Even you don't need to take sannyasa. You can be a grihastha jnani. Once you attain this knowledge and you have full conviction about this is the right knowledge, it will get reflected in on your actions and on your behavior. So that is there. I mean, you can be a grihastha jnani and then continue as long as this body continues.
In fact, this knowledge is mainly meant for the grihasthas.
Exactly.
So that
It is mainly, it is meant for any jiva, basically. You can say any human being. But what it says is in grihastha avastha, it is very difficult to find the time and the leisure to pursue this knowledge. And that is why Adi Shankara always insists that if you are seriously, if you have become from a mumukshu, you become a jignasu, take sannyasa. So sannyasa will actually relieve you physically of all your domestic responsibilities. Because being a grihastha and following this, spiritual path is a very, very challenging thing. It will be just like, all people, your children, your spouse, they all will be pulling you in different directions. Very difficult, very challenging. In fact, if you are a grihastha jnani, that is the most superlative achievement. As a sannyasi, by detaching yourself from the whole world physically, going away somewhere to some guru's ashram, staying there and getting this knowledge and becoming a jnani is far easier than staying within the four walls of your house, pursuing this and then getting the benefit of this knowledge, using this knowledge for your remainder of your life. Very difficult. But Swami Paramatmananda says, given the realities of today's world, even a jnani in an ashram can become a grihastha. Isn't it? He can also develop attachments with so many things. Pujya Swamiji used to say that there was one sannyasi to whose kutia he went once. Then when he went inside, the sannyasi was, lying down outside on the veranda of the kutia. Kutia means a small room, So Swamiji asked that, why you are, lying down outside? Why can't you go and sleep inside the room? Then that sannyasi said, no, my room is full. There is no space in my room. He said, what do you mean there is no space in my room? When Swamiji went into his room, he found lot of empty cartons. This fellow has stacked all over the room. Empty cartons of so many things, Biscuit packet, empty carton. Something, everything he buys, that empty carton he saves. So Swamiji asked, what is this? You have so many empty cartons. No, in Hindi, it was in Hindi, in UP somewhere. He said, Kabhi kaam aayega to dhoondna nahi padega na. But if I require this, I don't need to search for them. So I have kept them safe. Swamiji says, if a person can get attached to empty cartons in his life, what kind of a sannyasi he is? He might as well better go back to his house and have good food at least. Otherwise, he will get the food of a sannyasi which is served in the public langar kind of thing. So even in an ashram, people can develop. Swamiji used to say, some sannyasis have such a great attachment to that kamandalu they have, that one pot kind of a thing they carry with them. Such a great attachment. They will, when they sleep, that it should not be stolen. They will put one cloth above it and put their head on it. That is the attachment with that small, wooden container. So what is sannyasa is about? Sannyasa is about getting yourself detached emotionally from all these things. irrespective of whether you are in an ashram, whether you are in a house, whether you are in a school, wherever it is. And jnanam is what that emotional maturity, when you get that, then automatically, life is full of happiness. Nandati, nandati, nandati eva. You go on dancing happily.
I have heard that in the olden time, the saints and sages, they never used to stay in a particular place for more than 2-3. They will always be
Yes,
on the
Parivrajaka, because that is a rule given by Shastras in order to prevent them from developing this attachment. That's the thing. So there are some certain, instruments given how you should do. You must not stay in one place for more than 2-3 days. Keep on moving, because more you stay, the more attachment you will get to the things, people, and objects there. Then you will stay there only permanently. Then a sannyasi may start, oh, I did a mistake by taking sannyasa. Maybe I should think of getting married now, because he may see a very nice, beautiful girl nearby a well drawing water, and which will be a nice sight. So all these problems can come. So when you take sannyasa, Shastras advise don't stay in a place for more than 2-3 days. Even the 2-3 days, you stay only if you want to take rest. You have been traveling, then you want to take rest to stay for a couple of days and then continue your travel. That is what the Shastras say rather for sannyasis. But that is one type of, this thing. Today, sannyasis are there in ashrams. What traveling they do? They are very much there eating ashram food and everything they are doing. So they are not doing any traveling today. It was in olden days, it was applicable rather. The sannyasis had to live on the food bhiksha given by others.
By walking.
Yeah, they'll be walking one place to another, one town to another, and blessing everybody, and giving good gyan and whatever is necessary and all that. And people used to consider a sannyasi coming to their village as a big blessing. In fact, they will, our Paramacharya, whenever he used to go to any place, rather, people will not leave him. They will insist that he should stay for a few more days, and all that. A big problem for Paramacharya. So, like that, it is like that. This is how we have to understand all the aspects of this knowledge. It is not just, intellectual level. It covers our entire living rather in all its aspects. Yeah. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaskaram.
Hari Om. Thank you very much. We'll see you next Saturday. Hari Om.